Welcome to English Listening Practice. Today, we tell the epic story of Mercedes-Benz. In the late 19th century, in Germany, two men had the same bold dream. They wanted to build a carriage that could move without a horse. These two men, Karl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler, did not know each other. Karl Benz was a careful engineer who wanted to build a perfect, complete vehicle. Gottlieb Daimler was a visionary genius who wanted to build a powerful engine for land, sea, and air. Their separate journeys would start a revolution. But their rivalry would define the first chapter of the automobile. This is the story of how their two companies came together to create an empire.
The story of Mercedes-Benz begins with two men, Karl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler. They lived only 100 kilometers apart in Germany but worked separately for 40 years. They were very different people. Benz saw the automobile as a single, perfect machine. Daimler saw it as a universal engine that could power anything. Their different ideas fueled a strong rivalry. These ideas also became part of the company's DNA, making it a creator of both perfect vehicles and powerful engines.
The story of the practical automobile begins with Karl Benz. He was born in 1844 in Germany. His father was a locomotive driver who died of pneumonia when Karl was only 2 years old. His mother, Josephine, was left in poverty. But she was a very strong woman. She believed a good education was the only way for her son to have a better life. She saved every penny to send him to the best schools. This sacrifice would change the world of transportation forever.
Karl Benz was a brilliant student. He first wanted to be a locksmith, showing his love for complex machines. But he decided to follow in his father's footsteps and study engineering. He graduated from the University of Karlsruhe when he was only 19. But after school, he struggled for 7 years in unsatisfying jobs. He dreamed of a horseless carriage, an idea that started while he was riding a bicycle.
In 1871, Benz started an iron foundry and workshop with a partner, August Ritter. The business was a disaster because Ritter was unreliable. The workshop was about to be taken away. At this difficult moment, his fiancée, Bertha, saved him. She saw his genius and believed in his dream. She used her dowry, money for their future home, to buy out the unreliable partner. This brave act saved the business and gave Benz the freedom he needed. He was now the only owner, and Bertha was his most important partner.
Now secure, Benz could focus on his passion for engines. He worked hard to develop a reliable two-stroke petrol engine. On New Year's Eve of 1879, it ran for the very first time. This success was the key to everything. The money from his engine patents gave him the stability to chase his ultimate dream. He then patented all the essential parts for a car: a throttle, ignition, carburetor, clutch, gear shifter, and a water radiator for cooling. He was systematically building a complete car.
By 1885, Benz was ready to build his car. Other inventors were just putting engines on horse carts. Benz knew this was not the right way. He designed the car from the ground up as one integrated machine. His vehicle had 3 wheels and a lightweight steel frame. At the back was a single-cylinder 4-stroke engine. On January 29, 1886, he applied for a patent for his vehicle with gas engine drive. This is considered the official birth certificate of the automobile. That summer, he drove it in public for the first time, with his son running alongside carrying extra gasoline.
While Benz was working in Mannheim, another man, Gottlieb Daimler, was in Stuttgart. He had the same dream but a very different style. Daimler was a workaholic and a worldly engineer. His goal was not just to build a car, but to put engines in everything and motorize the world. His education was more international than Benz's. He traveled and worked in France and Britain, learning about the most advanced technology. This gave him a big global vision.
In 1864, Daimler met a brilliant young designer named Wilhelm Maybach. This was the start of a legendary partnership. They were a perfect team. Daimler was the visionary with endless ideas. Maybach was the technical genius who could make those ideas real. Later, they were hired by the world's leading engine company, Deutz, run by Nikolaus Otto. Daimler became the technical director, and Maybach was the chief designer. They made Otto's four-stroke engine a successful product.
But Daimler and Otto had a major disagreement. Otto was happy building large, slow engines for factories. Daimler was obsessed with making engines small, light, and fast so they could power vehicles. This conflict led to Daimler being fired in 1882. Maybach quit his job to follow his friend. With money from his old company, Daimler bought a villa in Cannstatt. He built a secret workshop in his garden greenhouse. There, they worked to create a high-speed engine.
Old engines ran at about 150 revolutions per minute, or RPM. They were too heavy and slow for vehicles. Daimler and Maybach wanted to create an engine that could reach 900 RPM. They achieved this with two key inventions, a hot tube ignition system and the first modern carburetor. Their first successful high-speed engine in 1885 was so tall and narrow it was called the grandfather clock. It was light, compact, and powerful, the universal motor Daimler had dreamed of.
True to his vision, Daimler wanted to put his engine everywhere. On land, in 1885, they put a small engine on a wooden bicycle. This became the world's first motorcycle, called the Reitwagen. Daimler's son, Paul, took it on its first ride. Also in 1886, they bought a horse-drawn carriage and installed their engine, creating the first four-wheeled car. On water, in 1887, they put the engine on a boat, which became a commercial success. In the air, in 1888, their engine powered an airship.
The story of Mercedes-Benz is not just about its inventors. It's also about the people who helped turn their inventions into a legend. Bertha Benz was more than just Karl's wife. She was his financial supporter and the hero of the car's first big test. 2 years before they married, she used her own money to save his first business. This investment was the foundation for the entire Benz company. She was a true partner in his work.
Karl Benz was a brilliant inventor, but a shy marketer. After he patented his car, he was afraid to show it to the world. Sales were very poor and Karl started to have doubts. Bertha knew the car worked, and she knew she had to prove it. In August 1888, she decided to take action. Without telling her husband, she and her 2 teenage sons took the car. They left a note saying they were going to visit her mother in Pforzheim. They started on the first long-distance car journey in history, a 106-kilometer trip.
Bertha's journey was a real-world test of the car. She faced many problems and solved them with great creativity. The fuel problem, the car's fuel, called Ligroin, was only sold in pharmacies. She cleverly planned her route to pass through towns and stopped at the city pharmacy in Wiesloch to buy fuel. This pharmacy became the world's first gas station. Roadside repairs. She used a long hat pin to clean a clogged fuel line. She used one of her garters to insulate a broken ignition wire. When a chain broke, she found a blacksmith to fix it.
During the journey, the car's wooden brakes started to wear out. In another moment of genius, Bertha stopped at a shoemaker's shop. She asked him to nail leather strips onto the brake blocks. In doing so, she invented the world's first brake linings, or brake pads. The biggest problem was climbing hills. The car's 2-speed gear was not strong enough. She and her sons had to get out and push. When she returned home, she told Karl about this problem. Her most important suggestion was that the car needed a third, lower gear for hills. Karl took her advice, and this improvement was added to all future models.
While Benz was building reliable cars, his rival, Daimler Motorengesellschaft, or DMG, was changed by a special customer. His name was Emil Jellinek, a wealthy Austrian diplomat and car racing fan. He sold Daimler cars, but thought they were too tall, heavy, and slow for racing. Jellinek raced under a secret name, Monsieur Mercedes. Mercedes was the name of his 10-year-old daughter. He believed the name brought him good luck. Soon, the name Mercedes became famous in racing circles.
In 1900, Jellinek made DMG an offer they couldn't refuse. He would buy 36 cars, a huge order, but only if they met his conditions. He demanded that Wilhelm Maybach design a brand new car for him. It had to be longer, wider, lighter, and have a lower center of gravity. And the new model must be officially named the Daimler Mercedes. Maybach delivered a masterpiece, the Mercedes 35 horsepower. It arrived in December 1900 and was a revolution. It was the world's first truly modern automobile. It had a pressed steel frame and a powerful new 35 horsepower engine. A key innovation was the honeycomb radiator, which solved engine cooling problems.
In March 1901, at the Nice Race Week, the new Mercedes cars dominated every race. They broke speed records and amazed everyone. The director of the French Automobile Club said, "We have entered the Mercedes era." The success was so great that DMG knew it had something special. They had a problem, though. They had sold the rights to use the Daimler name in France. Jellinek's demand for the name Mercedes was the perfect solution. In June 1902, DMG officially registered Mercedes as a trademark for all its cars. This was the moment the industry shifted from being about invention to being about brand identity and marketing.
In the early 1900s, Benz and DMG were both very successful. Benz became the world's largest carmaker by building reliable, practical cars. DMG focused on high-performance, luxury cars under the successful Mercedes name. But then, World War I and a terrible economic crisis hit Germany. After the war, the German economy collapsed. There was hyperinflation, and the currency became worthless. The car industry was hit very hard. The two rival companies realized they could no longer afford to compete. To survive, they had to cooperate.
In 1924, the two companies signed an agreement of mutual interest. They started to standardize designs, combine purchasing, and merge their sales efforts. But this was not enough to survive the economic pressure. On June 28, 1926, Daimler Motorengesellschaft and Benz & C officially merged. They formed a new company, Daimler-Benz AG. They also needed a new logo that combined both famous brands. They brilliantly fused Daimler's three-pointed star with the laurel wreath from the Benz logo. The new brand name for all cars would be Mercedes-Benz. This new symbol represented the perfect joining of two powerful histories.
The period from 1933 to 1945 is the darkest chapter in the company's history. Daimler-Benz became deeply involved with the Nazi regime. The company's business grew by building trucks and engines for the German military. Its factories produced military trucks, staff cars, and engines for the Luftwaffe's fighter planes. To meet the high demand for production, the company used forced labor. This was a terrible and shameful part of its history. By the end of 1944, almost half of Daimler-Benz workers were civilian forced laborers, prisoners of war, or concentration camp inmates. They were forced to work in horrible conditions. This was a calculated business strategy to maximize profit during the war.
The end of the war in 1945 left Daimler-Benz in ruins. Its major factories were heavily bombed. All of its assets in other countries were taken for war reparations. But the company still had its most valuable asset, its engineering knowledge. The rebuilding process started almost immediately. Production slowly resumed, first with trucks that were needed for reconstruction. In the 1950s, Daimler-Benz became a leading symbol of West Germany's Wirtschaftswunder, or economic miracle.
The post-war era was a golden age for Mercedes-Benz. The company built cars that defined the era. The Ponton was the first sedan with a modern, smooth-sided design. The Fintail was famous for its American-style tail fins, but its real importance was hidden. It was the first car in the world built with a rigid passenger safety cell and front and rear crumple zones. This was a revolutionary safety concept from engineer Béla Barényi. It marked the moment when safety became a core part of the Mercedes-Benz brand.
If the Fintail represented safety, the Mercedes-Benz 600 represented ultimate power and prestige. Known as the Grosser or Grand Mercedes, it was launched in 1963. It was a limousine for the most powerful people in the world. It had a mighty V8 engine and a very complex hydraulic system. This system silently powered the windows, seats, and even the trunk lid. Each car was hand-built, and its customer list included royalty, celebrities, and world leaders. The Grosser 600 became the ultimate symbol of power.
Another car from this era became the ultimate symbol of performance and style, the 300 SL Gullwing. It is perhaps the most iconic Mercedes-Benz ever made. It was based on a successful racing car. The American importer, Max Hoffman, convinced Mercedes to build a street version for the wealthy American market. Its most famous feature, the upward-swinging gullwing doors, was not just for style. They were necessary because the car's strong frame made normal doors impossible. The 300 SL was also the first production car with direct gasoline fuel injection. This made it the fastest production car of its time.
More than anything, Mercedes-Benz built its reputation on safety. Their engineers created breakthroughs that saved countless lives. The crumple zone, patented in 1952, changed how all cars are designed. In 1978, Mercedes introduced the first anti-lock braking system, or ABS. This system helps drivers keep steering control during a hard stop, preventing skids. In 1981, they introduced the first integrated airbag and seatbelt tensioner system. In a crash, the seatbelt tightens first, then the airbag deploys for maximum protection. The S-Class flagship sedan was almost always the first car to get these new safety features.
In 1998, Daimler-Benz made a huge business gamble. It merged with the American automaker Chrysler in a $36 billion deal. It was called a merger of equals to create a global powerhouse. The idea was to combine German luxury engineering with American mass-market success. In reality, it was a disaster. The two companies had completely different cultures that could not work together. The German style was formal, careful, and slow. The American style was flexible, fast, and daring. This created constant conflict. Years later, the Daimler CEO admitted he always saw it as a takeover, not a merger. In 2007, Daimler sold Chrysler for a huge loss. It was one of the biggest failures in corporate history.
In the 21st century, Mercedes-Benz faced a new challenge, the electric car revolution. Their first strategy was to create a separate electric sub-brand called Mercedes EQ. These cars had a very new aerodynamic design. But the designs were not popular with everyone, and sales were lower than expected. This has led to a major change in strategy. The company is now getting rid of the EQ brand name. Future electric models will be integrated into the main lineup. For example, instead of an EQG, they launched the electric G580 with EQ technology. The goal is to make electric a normal powertrain choice, just like petrol or diesel.
Mercedes-Benz knows that in the electric age, the battery is the new engine. The company is investing billions to develop the next generation of batteries. The ultimate goal is the solid-state battery. This technology is called the Holy Grail of electric vehicles. It promises more range, faster charging, and much better safety. Mercedes is working with a U.S. company, Factorial Energy, to develop them. In early 2025, they began testing a prototype solid-state battery in an EQS sedan. This new battery could allow a car to drive over 1,000 kilometers on a single charge.
Mercedes-Benz is also a leader in autonomous or self-driving technology. Its Drive Pilot system is the world's first certified Level 3 automated driving system. Level 3 means the car is truly driving itself under certain conditions. These conditions are on a pre-mapped highway, in heavy traffic, at speeds under about 60 miles per hour, and in clear weather. When the system is active, the driver can legally take their hands off the wheel and their eyes off the road. They can watch a movie or answer emails on the car screen. The car uses advanced sensors like LiDAR, radar, and cameras to navigate safely. The system is now available in Germany, California, and Nevada.
All of these new technologies are part of a big strategy called Ambition 2039. This is the company's promise to become completely carbon neutral by the year 2039. This means changing everything, from how materials are sourced to how cars are recycled. Key parts of the plan include moving to an all-electric fleet and running factories on 100% renewable energy. They are also working with suppliers to use green steel and are building new plants to recycle over 96% of the materials from old EV batteries. Mercedes-Benz believes that in the 21st century, true luxury must also be sustainable. The goal is to deliver the best or nothing for a new era.